There are three ideas that complete Wagner's standard operating procedure model. The first one is that an association is formed between two nodes, the CS and the US, only if they are both activated in A1 at the same time. The second is that when the CS and the US are paired, activating the CS will activate the US, but only in the A2 level. And the last one is that since a node is made up of a bunch of elements, when a node is activated in a certain state, it means that most of the elements are in that state. After conditioning with the CS and the US can only be activated to A2, and in the long run becomes expected and conditioning will falter out. The retrieval stimulus, which is the US, can't ever go into A1 because it is retrieved into A2, so excitatory learning can't happen. There is a famous factor, and of Wagner's standard operating procedural model, and that is that it can explain timing as an effect on conditioning. When the CS and US nodes are in A1, conditioning will occur. He also explains backward conditioning. In this, the US is in A2 and the CS is in A1, leading to conditioned inhibition. But there cannot be a gap between them, otherwise the US will be inactivated before the CS is present and nothing will be learned. There are also sensory versus emotional US nodes. The USs have emotional and sensory qualities. The US presentation activates two nodes, one sensory and one emotive. The CS is associated with both of them, and then when it's presented, it causes the two nodes to go from A1 to A2 and then to inactive. The emotive node moves slower than the sensory node. In backwards conditioning, emotive nodes move much slower and associations will be excitatory, while sensory nodes move faster and will be inhibitory. Elemental versus configural CS nodes. Pierce emphasizes more on external inhibition. One CSA is conditioned and paired with a US, and they add a stimulus B. Now, A is followed by AB. B causes a reduced response to A, and then generalization between the two occurs. His theory is called configural theory, which means that you learn the entire configuration of stimuli that are presented on any trial. There are also things called elemental theories. And this is when A, B, and C compounds are associated with the US individually, and this is wrong. Pierce says that they are all associated together. One pattern he describes it in is positive patterning. This is when two CSs are paired with a US, AB, when presented together but not alone. And then negative patterning, which is when two CSs are paired separately with a US, but not when they are presented together. A and B acquire excitation, and AB is inhibition. AB and C compounds are all CSs, and therefore together get 100% of the condition responding. If one is dropped, 33% of the condition responding will be removed, and dropping two of them will remove 66%.